Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we listen to a disturbing story about a girl who is followed by a dark and evil presence. No matter where she goes, it's always there. Let's get into it. Eyes in the dark. The first time it happened, I was 14. My parents had rented a cottage deep in the woods, right on the edge of a quiet lake. The place was old, so old you could feel it in the walls, in the way the wooden floors groaned under every step, like the house itself was exhaling. The air inside was stale, thick with dust and time, like no one had lived there in years. And then there was the window, a massive, floor-to-ceiling panel of glass stretched across the living room, facing the lake. During the day, the water shimmered under the sunlight, but at night it was just black, a hollow, empty kind of black. Like the world ended at the shore, and beyond it was nothing, just a void. That night, I was lying on the couch, staring at that window. I don't know how long I was awake, but I remember the way the darkness outside felt like it was pressing against the glass, seeping into the room. There were no streetlights, no distant glow from a nearby town, just pitch black emptiness. The only sound was the occasional groan of the old house settling. I was alone downstairs. My parents were asleep in the bedroom upstairs. And then it happened. A crushing weight pressed down on my chest. I couldn't move. I tried to lift my arms, to turn my head, to shift even an inch, but my body refused to listen. I was completely, utterly frozen. My breath turned shallow, sharp, like I was suffocating under something I couldn't see. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, too loud, too slow. The air in the room was wrong, thick, electric, like static crawling under my skin. And then I saw them, two eyes. They hovered in the darkness outside, right in the corner of the window. At first, I thought I was imagining them. Maybe a trick of my tired mind, maybe a reflection. Except there was no light in the room, no lamp, no glow from a phone screen. Nothing. Just pure blackness, except for those eyes. They were watching me. I couldn't see a face, couldn't make out a body. Just those two burning white orbs, floating in the void, too bright, too focused. They weren't human, they weren't animal, they were something else, and they weren't just looking at me, they were looking into me. The longer I stared, the deeper they dug. I could feel them crawling through my mind, prying me open, picking apart every dark thought, every fear, every hidden piece of myself I didn't want seen. My chest tightened, my skin burned. I tried to scream, to move, to do anything, but I was trapped. And then, against every instinct, I shut my eyes. For a moment, the world was silent, empty. I begged myself not to look, not to check if it was still there. But then, the stairs creaked. Something was inside the house. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't turn my head, couldn't run, couldn't even brace myself. Slowly, painfully, I forced my eyes open, and it was gone from the window. It was at the top of the staircase, a solid, towering figure, blacker than the shadows around it. It didn't fade into the darkness. It was the darkness, a shape cut from the void itself, standing there, staring down at me. And those eyes, those same white, hollow, burning eyes never left mine. It hadn't walked, it hadn't crawled, it had just appeared. It never moved, it never breathed. It only stared. The weight on my chest grew heavier. My vision blurred at the edges. I thought I was dying. Then, I blinked, and it was gone. The pressure lifted, my lungs unlocked. I sucked in a breath so sharp it burned, and I ran. Straight upstairs, straight to my mom's room, where I didn't move until morning. But it wasn't over. It was only the beginning. The patterned morning came, and the sunlight pouring through the windows should have made everything feel normal again. It didn't. The air in the cottage still felt heavy, like something had settled there in the night and hadn't left. I didn't tell my parents what happened. I couldn't. What would I even say? That I saw something in the window? That it was inside the house? That it stared at me all night while I lay there paralyzed? They wouldn't believe me. So I convinced myself it was just a dream, a nightmare. It had to be. Sleep paralysis, that was the logical explanation, right? I'd read about it before. The feeling of being trapped in your body, the hallucinations, the overwhelming sense of dread. That's all it was. That's what I told myself. Until it happened again. Not the next night, not even the night after that, but a year later. Same time, same feeling, same thing. It always happened in late summer, right when the air turned thick with the weight of autumn. By then we had moved. New house, new town. It didn't matter. It still found me. I was asleep in my room when I woke to that same suffocating pressure. Paralyzed. My arms wouldn't move. My legs wouldn't move. I could barely breathe. The air was ice cold and the silence was thick, unnatural. I didn't want to look. I knew what I would see, but I looked anyway. And there it was, standing in the corner of my room, watching, the same shape, the same absence of anything human. And the eyes, always the eyes. It never moved. It never lunged at me, never spoke. It just stood there, staring, waiting, feeding on my fear. The moment my body finally snapped out of it, I bolted, locked myself in the bathroom, shaking, my skin cold and damp with sweat. I sat there until sunrise, waiting for it to come back, but it never did. Not when I was awake. It only came when I couldn't fight it. And every year it returned. A shadow in my room, a weight on my chest, eyes in the dark, never moving, never leaving. It didn't matter where we lived. It didn't matter how much I tried to forget. I belonged to it, and it wanted me alone. By the time I was in my early 20s, I had stopped trying to understand it. I stopped looking up sleep paralysis because nothing I read made sense anymore. The things I saw online weren't comforting. They were horrifying. Stories of people seeing the same thing. Tall, featureless figures, watching, waiting, never moving. Some said it was a shadow person. Some said it was a demon. Some said it was something worse, something ancient, something that feeds. I didn't want to know anymore. The only thing that made me feel safe was my dog. She was a Doberman, sleek and strong, her black fur blending into the night, her brown eyes filled with nothing but love. She wasn't just a pet. She was my world. I was bullied as a kid, kept to myself, always felt like I didn't belong anywhere. But she was my constant. When everything else felt too much, when the weight of the world pressed down on me, she was there, always protecting me. And she knew before I did when something was wrong. The night it came back, she woke first. I was on the couch, drifting in and out of sleep, when I felt her stiffen beside me. Her body went rigid, her ears pinned back. Then the growl. It wasn't a normal growl. It wasn't the kind she made when she saw a stranger outside or heard something unusual. It was deep, primal, like she was trying to warn something. I tried to move, to reach for her, to pull her close, but I couldn't, paralyzed again. My eyes darted to where she was staring, the stairs, and then it was there. Not in the window, not in the corner. It was near the center of the staircase where half its body was covered in darkness, and only its head could be seen with those malicious eyes. Standing, watching, waiting. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the only one who saw it. She saw it too. She knew it was real. Her growl turned into something desperate, her body trembling, teeth bared, but she wouldn't leave my side. She wouldn't move. She wouldn't run. Neither of us could. I don't remember how long we stayed like that. Minutes? Hours? But when it finally disappeared, she didn't stop staring. She didn't sleep that night. She barely slept after that. And then, 2 weeks later, she was gone. No warning, no sickness, just gone. The vet couldn't explain it, said it was sudden, unexpected. Sometimes it just happens. No, it doesn't. Something took her. I couldn't save her. My only true friend. I couldn't do a fucking thing. It knew that she was protecting me. It knew that if I had any hope or comfort, it wouldn't be able to take me. And I think it wanted me to be alone. It's worse now. At 26, I finally moved into my own place. I thought maybe it was over. That it had just been a childhood terror. That without my dog, without anyone, I'd at least be free of it. I was wrong. That first night, when sleep paralysis took hold, I felt it immediately. The air shifted. The pressure returned. The weight on my chest was unbearable, like something was pressing into me, sinking into my bones. I opened my eyes, and it was on the ceiling, directly above me, not in the corner, not at the stairs, above me, leaning down, watching. The eyes never blinked. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And for the first time in my life, I felt it. Not just its presence, its touch, like cold fingers pressing against my ribs, like something trying to pull me into the dark. It didn't just want to watch anymore. It wanted more. And now I feel it all the time. Even when I'm awake, even when the lights are on, it's there, waiting, watching. And every night when I close my eyes, I wonder, will I wake up this time? It's been a couple months since that moment, and I still don't know what this being is. And almost every other day I feel dread or the feeling of being watched. I hope it's stress, and all of it is just one big coincidence. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. All support is much appreciated. Much love, guys.